We're diving into the weird, wild, and sometimes downright terrifying world of hallucinations. We're going to use the iceberg approach to break this down, starting with stuff you've probably heard of and then plunging into the depths of some truly obscure and mind-bending phenomena. Alright, first up, we've got psychedelic drugs. If you were around in the 60s or if you've ever been to a music festival, you know the drill. Psilocybin mushrooms and DMT. These babies are famous for turning your world upside down, from seeing vibrant colors to having full-blown mystical experiences. So what happens when you take these? Basically, psychedelics mess with your brain's serotonin receptors. You start seeing geometric patterns, hearing colors, and feeling one with the universe. Sounds fun, right? But hold on. It's not all peace and love. These trips can take a dark turn, leading to what's charmingly called a bad trip. Think paranoia, terrifying visuals, and existential dread. Next, let's talk about schizophrenia. This is a chronic mental health condition that affects about 1% of the population. One of the hallmark symptoms of schizophrenia is hallucinations, particularly auditory ones. People with schizophrenia often hear voices that aren't there, and these voices can be critical, commanding, or just plain bizarre. Visual hallucinations can also occur, although they're less common. Imagine seeing shadowy figures lurking in the corners of your vision or faces morphing into grotesque shapes. It's like living in a horror movie 24/7, but without the option to just turn it off. The exact cause of schizophrenia isn't fully understood, but it's thought to be a combination of genetic, biological, and environmental factors. Treatment usually involves antipsychotic medications and therapy to help manage symptoms and improve quality of life. If you've ever woken up unable to move, with a crushing weight on your chest and a sense of impending doom, congratulations. You've experienced sleep paralysis. During REM sleep, our bodies enter a state of atonia, which means our muscles are essentially paralyzed to prevent us from acting out our dreams. Sometimes, though, we wake up before this paralysis wears off, and that's when things get weird. People often report seeing shadowy figures, hearing strange noises, or feeling like something evil is in the room with them. These hallucinations can be absolutely terrifying, but the good news is that sleep paralysis is usually harmless and tends to decrease with age. Still, it's no fun to wake up feeling like you're in a scene from The Exorcist. Next up is Charles Bonet syndrome. This one's not as well known, but it's fascinating. Charles Bonet syndrome occurs in people who have lost a significant amount of their vision, but instead of seeing nothing, they start to experience vivid visual hallucinations. These hallucinations can be incredibly detailed and complex. Think patterns, animals, people, and even entire landscapes. What's interesting is that people with Charles Bonet syndrome are usually aware that what they're seeing isn't real. It's like their brain is trying to fill in the gaps left by their failing vision. It's not related to any psychiatric disorder, which makes it all the more curious. Imagine your brain projecting a full-on movie on the inside of your eyelids. Ever heard of sensory deprivation tanks? These are tanks filled with salt water, allowing you to float effortlessly with no light or sound. The idea is to remove all external stimuli, and the results can be pretty trippy. When the brain is deprived of sensory input, it starts to create its own. This can lead to hallucinations, ranging from simple light patterns to full-blown visual and auditory experiences. Some people use sensory deprivation for meditation and relaxation, but it can also lead to some intense and sometimes unsettling hallucinations. It's like your brain goes, "Hey, nothing's happening out here. Let's spice things up a bit." And suddenly, you're having a conversation with a glowing jellyfish. And now, let's talk about delirium tremens, or DTs. This is a severe form of alcohol withdrawal that can occur in people who have been drinking heavily for a long time and then suddenly stop. DTs can cause a range of symptoms, including shaking, confusion, and you guessed it, hallucinations. These hallucinations can be incredibly vivid and terrifying. People might see insects crawling on their skin, hear voices, or even have full-blown delusions. It's a medical emergency that requires immediate treatment, as it can be life-threatening if left untreated. Imagine trying to quit drinking and suddenly finding yourself in a waking nightmare. It's like your brain's way of saying, "You thought you could quit me, think again." Alright, now we're getting into some obscure territory. Urgotism, also known as St. Anthony's Fire, is caused by consuming ergot-contaminated rye. Ergot is a type of fungus that produces alkaloids which can cause hallucinations, convulsions, and even gangrene. Back in the Middle Ages, outbreaks of ergotism led to mass hallucinations and convulsions, which were often attributed to demonic possession or witchcraft. Some historians even suggest that ergotism might have played a role in the Salem witch trials, with affected individuals exhibiting strange behaviors and hallucinations. So, the next time you enjoy a nice piece of rye bread, just be thankful we have modern agriculture and food safety standards. Next, let's talk about temporal lobe epilepsy. This type of epilepsy affects the temporal lobes of the brain, which are involved in processing sensory input and forming memories. Seizures in this part of the brain can cause complex visual and auditory hallucinations. People with temporal lobe epilepsy might see vivid scenes, hear music or voices, or even have out-of-body experiences during seizures. These hallucinations can be incredibly detailed and lifelike, making it hard to distinguish between reality and the hallucination. It's a reminder of just how powerful and mysterious the brain can be, creating entire worlds inside our heads. Alright, we're diving deep now. Akinetopsia, or motion blindness, is a rare neuropsychological disorder where individuals cannot perceive motion. Everything appears as a series of still images, like a strobe light effect. But here's where it gets even weirder. Some people with akinetopsia also experience hallucinatory movements. They might see objects shifting positions abruptly or appearing to jump from one place to another. It's like living in a glitchy video game where the normal flow of motion is completely disrupted. Talk about a mind-bending experience. Next, we have the Froli delusion. This is another rare disorder where a person believes that different people are actually a single person who is changing appearance or is in disguise. Imagine thinking that everyone you meet is actually the same person, just wearing different masks. It's named after the Italian actor Leopoldo Fragoli, who was known for his rapid costume changes during his performances. This delusion is often associated with schizophrenia and other psychotic disorders, highlighting just how complex and fragmented our sense of identity can become. We're diving into the bizarre world of autoscopic hallucinations. Imagine looking up and seeing yourself just hanging out a few feet away, copying your every move. Creepy, right? This phenomenon is what's known as a doppelganger or phantom twin. Now, unlike mirrored self-misidentification, where you think your reflection is someone else with autoscopic hallucinations, you know it's you. But here's the kicker. It's still super disorienting and unsettling. Picture yourself waving at your double, and it waves back. It's like your own personal horror movie. People who experience this often have neurological conditions like epilepsy or migraines. So not only are they dealing with those issues, but they've also got to contend with their phantom twin popping up uninvited. And here's a fun fact. The term autoscopic comes from the Greek words auto, self, and scopio, to look at. These hallucinations are usually short-lived, but trust me, they leave a lasting impression. I mean, how do you forget seeing your own ghostly double? So next time you think you see someone who looks just like you, double check. It might just be your phantom twin paying a visit. We're now diving into the weird and whimsical world of Lilliputian hallucinations. Imagine waking up to see tiny soldiers marching across your bed or miniature people having a lively chat on your nightstand. Sounds like a scene from Gulliver's Travels, right? Well, that's exactly where the name comes from. Lilliputian hallucinations involve seeing fully formed, active mini-people or animals. These pint-sized hallucinations can be both fascinating and disturbing. Picture this. You're enjoying a quiet evening and suddenly a group of tiny folks starts a parade on your coffee table. Adorable or alarming? Maybe a bit of both. These hallucinations are often linked to conditions like delirium, alcohol withdrawal, or certain brain disorders. So while the idea of a mini army sounds cute, it's usually a sign that something's not quite right upstairs. Sometimes these hallucinations come with a side of macropsia, where regular objects seem gigantic. Imagine a world where your spoon looks like a shovel. If this narrative resonated with you, do support us. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe. Thank you for staying with us to the end. See you in the next video on Plaid Chronicles.